Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Belgian Football Podcast. My name's Scott Coyne. I'll be your host for this episode, and joining me, as is always the case, or almost always the case here, it's our very own Joris Beck. Joris, how are you as we begin the winter break?
Yes, I hope everyone enjoyed their holidays. Everyone's back to work. I guess most of people, at least, are back to work now. It's a bit of a special episode this time. It's not a special, but it's a special episode because it's not really connected to any game day. Unfortunately, we didn't manage last week as I was hoping for. Still 2 weeks ago, we didn't manage that. I hadn't caught up, so that we were lacking inputs. Information for a proper episode last week. We won't really discuss the week's episode. That's week's games. Maybe they will touch on them a little bit here and there throughout the episode, touching on a few things. But we will definitely have a good go in this episode. But of course, Scott, you're the host, so I'll let you run through things.
Yeah, I think the holiday season got the better of us last week, which is why we swerved a week. So apologies for that, everybody, but we're back to usual business. As Joris was saying, we thought what we might do this week, because we have now reached the winter break, of course, which runs between the 28th of December and the 16th of January, when the Pro League's back. Although a couple of days prior to that, of course, we've got Belgian Cup action, so the holiday doesn't run right until the 16th. But the transfer window is obviously open now as well, Joris, which is really the reason that we've kind of convened this week. The Belgian winter window running between the 6th of January, of course, which is today as of recording, and February the 2nd. And we've already had a few deals confirmed. It's going to hot up, obviously, as time goes on. But yeah, we thought it would be a good point for us to kind of just take stock of where a lot of sides are and to kind of go over the business that's already being completed. One of those deals in particular could potentially be quite a significant one for that side who are struggling a bit at the moment. We've got some other little bit of news to go over, and then we are going to touch on a Belgian coach who a lot of people might not be aware of, but certainly deserves a little bit of attention this week. So why don't we start, Joris, with diving a bit deeper into the confirmed deals, because I'm quite keen to get your thoughts on all of these. Some of them involve slightly more high-profile players than others. Let's start with the high-profile ones, obviously. The biggest one, and this was confirmed today, actually, somebody everyone will know, striker Dante van Zeer, has left the Buffaloes. He's left Genk, surplus to requirements under Rick de Mille, and he's joined Cercle on a loan deal with a purchase option. And everybody is well aware, because we've been banging on about it for probably about a season, because it feels like a season or a season and a half at least, that this situation has not had a resolution. Is this it? Is this the proven striker? And I suppose that's the interesting bit. They have signed a striker who is, you could argue, proven for the most part, and haven't gone down the option of opting for a young striker who's going to develop in this case, partly because the situation demands that they can't really. But yeah, he is proven. I think you look at his stats. I was doing this today, actually. 48 goals and 91 for Union Saint-Gilloise, of course. Probably his high watermark. That got him his big move to the MLS, of course, before coming back to join Genk. Prior to that, decent record much earlier in his career. Back at Beerschot, 16 goals and 39. 11 and 63 while in the M&S, and 5 and 25 while at Genk as well. So he's, I think this is an interesting pickup from Cercle, because as well as being able to score goals, he's a big assist creator, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, he's never been okay. He has had some great seasons in goal scoring seasons as well, but he's not the goal scorer across the. I would still say also in Union's Italia, of course, there's also a season in in the second division as well, in the Challenger Pro League, which might not have been called that at that time, but okay, the second division. So on top tier level, he hasn't, outside of Union, hasn't really proven that yet to me. But indeed, he is indeed useful. So maybe more on the wing, possibly, or a bit in between. And I do think also this is indeed a good pickup for Cercle. Also being at the bottom, they will be pushed back at times. And he is really fitting that counter striking position. Like that really fits his style, wrecking havoc a bit as well, and maybe in combination with a big guy like Ngura as well. I do see that working well as well, like more or less going to that typical old-fashioned target man and fast-paced striker structure. Not saying that this never this really will happen at Cercle, but I could see it happen, at least in circumstances. Maybe not as a default, maybe as a default. We will have to see how it develops. But I do think he could be a big part of the solution to their problems, and really pushing the other players as well forwards. And at the end, his spell was unfortunately not that great as well. So that's also why I'm still having some caveats, especially with the goal scoring as well. The recent years have not, or at least the recent year has not really been good. In the MLS, his numbers were okay, I think, or like it depended a bit on the season as well. One season, yes, the other one a bit less. But he really can create, not in the sense of dribbling or with technique or a brilliant pass, but he is always on the run. That's what causes some chaos, and in which he can thrive as well. And maybe that's a little bit what Cercle need as well in the position they are in. Of course, so it's understandable that they don't go for a younger profile this time. Not that he's old by any means, of course, but he's indeed a bit more proven or more experienced, for sure, as well at the highest level. And he should be able to add some extra quality to that squad. Of course, probably a good pickup for Cercle. Of course, we do not know his wage demands, and of course there's another caveat. But for this season, I guess it should be fine. But that might come more into play if he does indeed do well, and if he indeed, of course, we don't know how it is. Maybe there is even the purchase option is even automatically triggered after X performances or goal contributions or anything. We of course don't have any details on that, but that could become in the long run. Maybe that's a very long run, bit too much for Cercle. But of course, in that case, they might still find a deal I think they will be happy if it can help them out this half of a season still. And then if everything would have gone well, they'll take it from there and see what is possible and feasible, and whether he can stay at the club or that they can actually maybe sell him for more, if everything goes well. I still do feel this could still not go well, because he is lacking some match game time, some match rhythm. But in general, you would expect this to be a good pickup for Cercle Brugge, and maybe it should bring them forward in the position that they are in.
Yeah, in many respects, it's exactly what they're looking for, and if it clicks, I think he will provide what's been missing. This has happened really quickly, actually, in the last 48 hours or so. Once I think Cercle became aware that he was available, and it was only in the last few days, it certainly broke publicly that he'd been told that he could find a new club. Cercle, asked the question very quickly, and a deal was reached. We understand Cercle aren't paying all of the wages. We don't know what percentage. That held the deal up a little bit, but it was done quickly. As we were saying, that's a loan with a purchase option. So really interesting to see how he does, because you would imagine he would start most games as well. See where he slots in there and where he plays. Yeah, really interesting one. The other really high-profile one, Joris, and I'm actually quite sad to see him go, mainly because of what an outrageous talent he was, which may never be fulfilled. We will find out. A player who, up until a few hours ago, played for your side. 22-year-old Luca Oyen has left the Pro League now. He's gone to join a coach in the Eredivisie who is no stranger to the Pro League. Robin Veldman, of course, been around a little bit. He's now at Erenveen, and that's where Luca's gone. Joris, surprised by this one? Because I suppose from Genk's perspective, a real doubt that, he was going to be able to break into the senior side now for a whole host of reasons, and big salary there.
Yeah, I'm not fully surprised, of course. Sad indeed. Always sad to see a talentful youth player leave and not completely break through, because, well, never mind everything, and despite all the injuries, he actually played for almost 100 games in the senior squad even already. So that's how many games there are. Because that's more of the exemplification of that. Of course, many of those will have been shorter or longer sub appearances. Not very surprised because of everything that has happened with the injuries. Of course, there were already some rumors. So I did expect him to leave this window as well. He did do reasonably well in the last half a season at Young Genk again in the Challenger Pro League, of course, with some good games, some bad games, but also some stats to follow. But yeah, apparently it was not enough to really break through. And there's always been this, like, it's easily said about players with flair like him, of course, but like there has been like a bit of a mentality thing, or like more like not necessarily a mentality thing, but like not giving everything all the time, every day. That specific mantra, I guess. We've heard it all. That might have been lacking the real desire to get into the squad, and maybe a bit more of feeling entitled to do so. It seems that's apparently shown through. Of course, it's easy to say now afterwards as well, but these are things that have been doing the rounds for quite some time actually. But let's hope he can get a serious career on the right path in Heerenveen. Of course, no fee for him, but a big if he gets his career straight and he does get into the fold, and more than that, shines at Heerenveen, and they sell him later on, Genk will also still receive a big part of that fee. Whatever that is that 50%, 30%? I don't know of either, but a relatively big part. And now it's indeed a bit of a cost-saving operation, mainly. A little sad, especially since on the left wing, I would have expected him a bit more even this season. I think he didn't feature at all in the senior squad. I would have expected him to actually do that after some time, since there are some clear issues on that left wing as well, to at least have some sub appearances, especially in the last month or so after the DG Sternberg injury. But even there, he didn't really get a chance, so it was quite clear, since that was the case, that he would not have a future at the senior squad of Genk. Apparently they decided all parties decided to move on already now and not wait until the end of the season. Interesting to see how it goes at Heerenveen, because they also have another really talented left wing in Rivera. So he will have competition for sure, but that might be good for him as well. And hopefully he can get a better career in the Netherlands or leave a better mark than his father did in this one season at PSV Eindhoven. In the end, hopefully he'll have a bit of a longer and a steadier career like that. And hopefully he can actually get that breakthrough. Wish him all the best. We all mainly remember, I guess, especially the non-Genk fans, but also the non-Genk fans might not remember as much, maybe even, but unfortunately. But like the initial times in that, like 3 years ago, more than 3 years ago, even maybe already. That start of the season against Club Brugge, where he did get that first ACL injury. That what there in that game he was outstanding, and in the season before that he had already shown, the 2 seasons I think even before that, he actually had shown some pieces of quality. So it really came at the wrong moment, and but at those times it really looked like he would break through. Unfortunately, it didn't happen, but it's never too late. But sadly, not at Genk anymore.
Yeah, who knows? We may see him back in the Pro League one day. Like I was saying, an outrageous talent, and we're all hopeful that he can still fulfill that or most of that. So really interesting transfer, that one. Another one that maybe less interesting in a different way. Sofiane Boufal has had his contract terminated by Union Saint-Gilloise by mutual agreement. He didn't feature recently. The club were kind of quite guarded, I suppose, in a way, as to personal reasons. I think was the official line taken by the club. As to kind of why he didn't feature in recent weeks. And obviously there's been a feeling that, again, similar to Luca Oyen, in the sense that, a big-ish wage, certainly by Union standards there, kind of being freed up, and obviously, a mutual feeling that there was no future for him in that squad.
Yeah, not that much to say. Actually, this season he really did not feature much. Last season, at times he was brilliant, at times he wasn't. That's a bit like the rest of his career, maybe you could say. He really did not feature at this season, so I guess they will not really miss him in that sense. On the other hand, of course, they had a few wonky games, let's say, over the last couple of weeks or months, even. Maybe that he could have brought something there still, but of course, for reasons that we can't, we don't know extra, we don't have any extra information on. That didn't happen. That probably says a lot as well, indeed. Much like Oye, that he didn't feature in their plans anymore, so they decided to get out of each other's way. Quicker than the contract actually initially stated. But I guess it's understandable.
Yeah, I think it is, and while we're on an outgoing at Union Saint-Gilloise, there has been a reasonably significant incoming. 22-year-old German striker Matteo Bionic has come in from fourth tier Eintracht Trier. Now, this is Union very much to Union things, I suppose, isn't it, Joris? Hoping to uncover a real talent from the lower leagues of football again. And they've done it before on numerous occasions. It's going to be really interesting to see how this one goes. I was joking just the other day about whether we're sitting here 18 months from now talking about a transfer in the region of kind of 20 million euros to a big elite European club if the model is successful. But it's a 4-year deal. They're committing to this. They've seen something that they like, and it's always an interesting ride with Union, seeing how these players do. Because another thing they tend to do very well, and it's worth highlighting this again, is they like to get their business done early. So the obvious speculation about, is somebody going to leave this window? Possibly not. But even if they're not, do your business early. And, it's that succession planning thing. I think that, if Promise David is leaving this window or in the summer, then here's a player coming in who's already had 6 months to acclimatise to a new culture and the demands of the Pro League as well. So, interesting one, this.
Yeah, imagine that. Indeed, like I think he scored 7 goals, if I'm not mistaken, had a few assists as well in the Regionalliga. But that's literally playing against amateurs and semi-pros, now going to the Champions League. That seems like a very, very big step up. But of course, they will not have gotten him for those Champions League games specifically yet. But yeah, interesting how how it is, because despite with the Champions League is a big difference, but also just against professional players the whole time. Of course, he did face professional players before. He also comes out of the youth academy of bigger clubs like Schalke, but nonetheless, will be interesting to see if this is not too big a step up. They have taken a lot of gambles. Not all of them actually have worked out like that, but I guess they do see the potential in him, and that's the gamble they're taking with that. And they see probably, well, I'm assuming the potential and the mentality or anything, something the extra that gives him a bigger chance to succeed. I believe that's more or less what they also scout for as well. And yeah, that will be. It's indeed an interesting one. Like, did they really cheat the system? Find the system, the cheat code for the system of scouting and everything, or do they also still do some wrong transfers that don't work out? Which, like I said, it has happened in the past, but on those lower profile transfers, like this one could turn out. Also, if this one doesn't work out, nobody will actually, like, in 2 years' time, he will go out the door, and nobody will have noticed that, I guess, or blame them as well. So it's it's a gamble they can take as well, of course. And I'm assuming he's not the most costly one coming from there as well, but yeah, definitely one to follow, if there is anything to follow. That remains a question.
Yeah, that is the main question, but certainly one kind of worth keeping an eye on. As are all the transfer dealings, certainly coming into Union, because they have been, certainly for me, I've said this loads of times before on the show, that their recruitment, I think, in terms of its consistency over the last few years, has been, probably, well, not probably, the best in Belgium. So anything they do in terms of incomings is always going to get the attention, as it should, because they tend to get more things right than wrong. A couple of other confirmed transfers of younger players with probably a lot of potential still. We should have a chat about Joris. So they are Cedric Hattenboer. Has left Anderlecht, the 20-year-old midfielder. He's gone to Telstar in the Eredivisie. That's a loan with a purchase option. He's never quite been able to kind of make a breakthrough to the senior side, and we know that Anderlecht have been trying to move on a number of players, to kind of free up space in their squad as well, and get people off the wage bill as well. And the other one that's quite interesting, which obviously has an Anderlecht connection as well, because he was at Anderlecht playing for Anderlecht Futures, Neofal Mohamdi Kamoni has gone to Westerlo on a 3.5-year deal, 18-year-old winger. This is a really interesting one, because obviously tremendous potential there, and you would imagine he's going to see more top flight football than he was going to get at Anderlecht. Although he wasn't, to be fair, he wasn't doing badly there. I think just a feeling that, he almost certainly wasn't going to break into the senior side again. But I think Westerlo's an environment where a player in his situation could potentially do quite well.
It could, of course, is at Westerlo also. Cordero from Newcastle, who barely featured, has returned from his loan already. Well, returned and sent out to Spain, I believe, in the end. I don't remember exactly, but I think to the Segunda División. There's so many players, of course, that also shows if he's a replacement for him. Cordero didn't feature at all, of course, but there are some rumors around Griffin Yo as well, of course. If he were to leave, that also is a player that's sometimes features on that position as well, of course. He might see some more chances there than at Anderlecht as well, for sure. And on Hatenboer, yet again, also have to say, this is all based on rumors. Same with Oyen, so I don't really want to badmouth too much anyway, but there are these things like around the mentality that he didn't want to play for the futures as well, and something like that. So like that there are some indications that maybe he did not fit there in the end. He never found his feet in Brussels. And yeah, that played his role here. I think it's a good move to Telstar. Originally, it was supposed to be a loan without purchase option. In the end, it is one. I also suppose that's then because he was pushing for that himself. Didn't really see any chances, or didn't want to stay in Brussels. If this loan goes well, of course, this loan goes well, and yeah, Telstar's highest paid fee so far, I believe, is 100k. I'm assuming they will have to pay a little more to get him, but so that they really will have to stay in the Eredivisie as well, which well, he will have to fight for with them now as well to be able to pay that sum. And even if they do, it's very likely again that that would be a buy him and sell him on for a higher fee, because you already know he will be sold. Thing is my feeling, of course. This is only my gut feeling, but yeah, it never shown. It has never shown in Brussels due to all kinds of circumstances, I guess. And yeah, wish him the best in his own home country, of course, and. Let's see what comes out of it. Telstar has a really good manager, like a really attacking minded manager. So I do believe that might fit him better. But there's always a sense. I always had a sense more that it would be more useful to loan him out in Belgium, just because of if he wanted to succeed in Belgium in Anderlecht. Specifically because of the more physical style of play of the whole league in comparison towards so more adapting to the league than in the Netherlands. But like I said, it seems like he might not want to come back anyway to Belgian football for now. And yeah, okay, that is good, right? Of course, that's. Yeah, we will see how it goes, how well he fares in the Eredivisie.
Yeah, and as we were saying, we are in the middle of the winter break now, and it's been quite interesting to see where some of the sides have kind of chosen to holiday, as it were. Spain's been very popular this time. I think 7 sides have gone to Spain, haven't they, Joris? So Anderlecht and Mechelen, Dender, Club, Ghent and Genk are all in Spain, and I think are Ghent and Genk not in the same place. I think they might be, which is always amusing. So they might be able to have dinner together and swap stories and holiday snaps, that kind of thing. 4 clubs have stayed on home soil. So there are 4 sides that are staying in Belgium. That's Union Saint-Gilloise, Sint-Truiden, Antwerp, and Raal. They're staying in Belgium, and of the others, probably the one that caught my eye, Zulte have gone to Tunisia. Now, some people might think, what's that all about? Well, I think you have to bear in mind that Zulte's T1, Sven Vandenbroek, has quite a lot of African football connections. So that's part of the reasoning on that one, I think. Some experience there of a particular complex and certain facilities. Westerlo have gone to Turkey, which perhaps shouldn't surprise anybody with their Turkish owners and the connections there. Charleroi are also in Turkey. Cercle are in Portugal. Yeah, that about covers it. But interesting, Spain seems to have won out with 7 sides in Spain. So I'm keen to get your thoughts, Joris, on what else has kind of caught your eye in terms of returning loans and players who might be heading out. Who's worrying you at the most and exciting you?
Yeah, one thing. They're next to each other, I believe, but Gent and Genk are not at the same spot. I think Genk is in Marbella, just like Marbella, just like Club Brugge, for example. But and Gent are in Oliva, which is the neighboring town, I believe. But nonetheless, there's other teams that are even closer.
Close enough.
But that's interesting to see. Spain is indeed popular. It's also going to, okay, for Belgian sides, I don't know when everyone is coming back, and it might be less intrusive maybe to the schedule, but like for the Dutch sides that are also there, and they already resumed this weekend with their football, I'm not sure if it's worth it to go to Spain or anywhere else warm now because of the wintry conditions in our countries at the moment. So like it might be better to adapt because I do see, of course, the value in having some good vibes going in that sense, and the team spirit going. But the team spirit might even be better now in Belgium, still in the snow. And enduring some things together. Even, but of course, there's still quite some time for, especially for teams that are out of the cup for now. But even the ones that are in the cup, it's still a week away. There's still some time to acclimatize back. One and two, the weather might change by then itself anyway as well, of course. But yeah, like what was it? I think Le Brugge were already in Marbella when there was a rainstorm. Yeah, okay. That also is nice. They always find a nice way around these kind of things, and that's still, of course, also good for team building, regardless of where you are. More the hardship may be experienced than the warm, nice weather. But I've also seen that the weather has already changed there, so everything's back to the sunny sides that they are used to there. Am I jealous? Maybe, but but yeah, it will be interesting to see what else will happen. A few things that also happened. As Louvière, Luca Bretel is already out again. Like he has only been there for 6 months and played the full 13 minutes in the league. But he provided an assist in that one, so that might be a really good. Ratio there, goal assist ratio for the amount of minutes played, one in 13 minutes. But that's only in there, so he didn't maybe make any impression there. At Zulte Waregem and Doer, he's back from loan. Don't really expect him to stay, to be honest. So probably will be going out again. I don't know how long his contract still is on, but if he will be sold or contract broken or loaned out again. Mechelen, of course, Leenaars, which cost the Spur at Lierse, and we might touch on one thing, one side effect of that at least, loosely related. That could be, we will touch on that. Sint-Truiden, of course, that's Shion Shinkawa in, the 18-year-old Japanese player that deemed the top talent, but we never know if that's actually the case. And of course, adaptation is anyway important. You would assume that Sint-Truiden would be a perfect fit for that, then of course for a Japanese player currently. But it's always a bit wait and see. But this could be an interesting one. And there are some more rumors as well, of course. At Club Brugge, there's a rumor like Ordóñez would he finally leave. It was closed last window already. Will he go now? There's also incoming transfer rumor there. Again, the center backs are probably, if he goes, then Shibukwe and Waiwu, a big talent from Wolfsberger in Austria, is an important candidate. He's rumored at Club Brugge, but also at numerous other clubs, so it's not necessarily certain that he will get there, but it's just a rumor at least already. And at Genk, it does really seem like Rozovsky will go out as well. The experienced head leader in the dressing room as well. Will be leading figure in the dressing room, so it will be interesting because it really looks like he will go out in the next few days. We will know a bit more. Of course, but then what that would have for implications. From Genk specifically, I do not know, but have the impression that they're looking for anyway for a left winger that and a right back currently that could potentially be in together with High and discussed. Then of course also there might be a replacement for Rozovsky in midfield as well, but they might look for internal options as well, which is still the most likely option, is my feeling there. And right back would of course be like that could mean as well that Eluadi might go and that they would need some replacements. There are some rumors for that he might be going. Like the most pressing one, I guess, is Crystal Palace currently, who of course have had good dealings with Genk on the right back position, or right wing back position specifically even, but. Of course, in the Premier League, also a lot of things are rolling, so it also might depend on a lot of things going there. So that's difficult to say, but that's that. And then, of course, at Gent, okay, they already got Van Zijl out, but also Surde, Sonko, and Omkwa are allowed to leave the club. So that there might be a lot of outgoing movement there. We'll also have to see that if they also do something ingoing to replace those players who did not really impress much or at all, maybe at the club. But of course, they did play quite some minutes ultimately, so they might need some replacements as well. With Delorge still out, Samwaza also just underwent surgery and was out for the season. I'm not sure if we touched on that. If that was in the last. It was in the last game, so we might not have touched on that yet. So yeah, he's out for the remainder of the season for sure. So they might. Gent seems to be a place where there's going to be a lot of business, which has already started, but it might have just only begun now. Yeah, these are the main ones, I think. Yeah, and of course, then also in Anderlecht, we have to monitor the situation with Verscharen, who reportedly has refused to extend his contract, which runs out in the summer. He was offered a contract with a lower salary because he's also one that earns a lot and doesn't bring enough for what he earns. Is what, at least from André's point of view. We'll have to monitor if he will walk out for free in the summer, or if all parties decide to move on this winter already. There's been a few rumors again out of the Netherlands, for example. AZ Alkmaar, I think, has been rumored. Trabzonspor was before, I think. I think they rejected something there already, but maybe they will come back. If he goes, what his destination will be is also remains to be seen. But just a few rumors to everything that I said here, the whole episode, I guess, except the Don deal. You can take with a grain, with a big pinch of salt, or lots of pinches of salt. But I think there is more to come for sure. And interesting to see how everything goes so far. Of course, the window is relatively quiet. Some things have happened. Van Zijl indeed being the bigger one. But I do have a feeling there might be more to follow. As usual, this might also drag on until the last days and even hours of this window. But we'll see. Maybe there's enough. Again, can't promise. Last time I promised we didn't do it. But maybe even without having any games to comment on, maybe we will be able to sit down together next week if there's a lot of things going on that to give another update with some more confirmed things by then. We will have to see how that enrolls, and also, of course, our personal schedules and judge if that makes sense in general, of course. But yeah,
we do love a rumor here. Even us here at the BFP, you get inordinately excited sometimes with a rumour, and that's the good thing about them. So even when the window's quiet-ish, which it is because it's just opened, the rumours often are more interesting than some of the deals done, and that never changes. So we love a rumour as much as you guys do at home as well. There have been some little bits of news as well over the last few days, Joris, that I think are worth touching on. So I think the first one probably is Lierse is now former sporting director, Jonathan Kindermans, son of Jean, of course. We don't need to let everybody know who he is, very well-known figure. Jonathan has left Lierse, and he's gone to RAL. He's not going to be the sporting director there. He's going to be working quite closely with Nicolas Frutos, who's still at RAL, who was working very closely with David Vervilgen, who was, up until recently, RAL's sporting director. friend of the BFP, former guest on the BFP as well. He's now at Anderlecht, heading up the scouting network there. Yep, Jonathan has gone to RAL to work with Nicolas Frutos. That's the first bit of news. Another one. Well, two actually. The other two bits of news, both connected to your team, Joris. Johan van der Romst, who was up until a few days ago T1 at Genk, has at the behest of Dimitri de Conde moved upstairs. He's moved to the coaching staff of the senior side to become Nicky Hyen's T2, which means, of course, they needed a new T1 at Genk, and they've decided to go for Igor Di Camargo. No stranger to the club. What do you make of all of that, Joris?
Well, last time Van Rumst was T2 at Genk. They became champion under Clément, so that would be a good omen. Unfortunately, also mainly for next season, I guess that was in the end, not necessarily for this one. But maybe we'll be storming the league still in the second half of the season. I don't see it happening. I can only be hope. But yeah, looks like he's taking that position. Well, he is taking that position back under Hyen. Yeah, maybe as a step up for later on, still getting that T1 job himself, as he was rumored before already as well. So that on its own, I do know, like, I don't really know Van Room's qualities as a T1, to be honest, even if I have followed it with half an eye on Young Genk a bit, but it's still different than in a senior squad. But I do know that he's really good at that, like the field training, which is of course different than the manager role, but like the field training exercises. He did a lot of work with specifically with Samatta at his previous spell at Genk, so the first spell of Samatta at Genk. As well, where they really spend hours and hours on his finishing and everything, and which paid off on the pitch as well. So I hope he can have that kind of influence on whether it's again a striker or just on any player in general, on these individual one-to-ones, I guess, more or smaller groups. That would already have a big impact on a squad that actually is still full of quality, but just massively underperforming so far. But maybe that could help with that, whether that's already for the short term or indeed more for next season, longer term. That well, mid to longer term, as usual in football, you always you can't ever speak of long term in with managers like fear and stuff. But that one is I'm quite positive about. Igor Camargo has not really shown anything yet as a manager, of course. But yet again, it's indeed it's a different beast managing a young Genk side or an under 23 side in comparison to a regular senior squad where he has not managed in the easiest circumstances yet either on this, but curious how that will go. Of course, indeed, he has some past with the club, with his first steps in European football being made here. 2 brilliant goals against Dortmund as well in Intertoto. Who remembers that one still? But Cup to then lose against Leiria, I guess, or something like a smaller Portuguese side, which such a shame. But okay, that's summer of 2003, I guess, for you of 2004. But anyway, barring that side step, yeah. Of course, also, I think I'm not sure. I don't think he really ended his career, but he had a second spell at Genk towards the end of his career, anyway. As well, but not really. I wasn't really a big fan of the player myself, to be honest. And as a manager, he still has to. It's difficult to judge him currently because he hasn't really shown much. Not in a positive for sure, but also not necessarily in a negative. At the short spells he had at Molenbeek and Franc-Morin, which was not the easiest club to manage as well. So I guess it's more of a wait and see on that one, as usual. The boring answer, but I'm personally not super convinced at the start, but there's no real grounds yet for that is based on I guess.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I thought it was an interesting choice, actually. I could kind of see why they went for him. I think you're right. I think his recent experiences at Molenbeek and Frank Moran have been, certainly a bit eye-opening for him. He will learn a lot from those experiences. Two clubs that, I think it'd be fair to say are not the most stable clubs, particularly in Molenbeek's case at the moment. There's a fair degree of chaos on and off the pitch surrounding that club. So I think it'd be very difficult for anybody to have gone in there and done a good job. Van Romst is quite an interesting one. Good friend of the BFP. The we know very well, rates Johan van Romst very, very highly, speaks highly of him, told us that he's an excellent coach. Interesting, Joris was saying he's never really proven himself, particularly as a T1 anywhere yet, even with kind of young Genk. I suppose it was, I think if you're being kind, unremarkable work really on the whole in terms of its impact, but he's a very highly rated coach, and Joris was also right to highlight that he's a former close associate of a certain Philippe Clemence as well. Was his T2 in a number of successful campaigns, so he certainly knows what he's doing, and I think he will be a good addition to Nicky Iron's staff there. Speaking of Belgian coaches, we couldn't finish this week's episode without touching on a certain story. We are the BFP, of course, so it would be somewhat remiss of us if we didn't highlight a certain story kind of going on at AFCON at the moment. There is, for those of you who follow your African football closely, will be well aware of Tom Saint-Fiet, who is, of course, Mali's T1 at the moment. But Tom is Belgian, of course, 52-year-old from Mol. Where is Mol, you ask, of course. Now, time for a bit of trivia, I suppose. And I will dig this out. Mol is, of course, in the Kempen area, which is famous geographically for its forests and its nature. And this one, fact fans, the Belgian Nuclear Research Centre. Did you know that, Joris?
That part I did not know. No. I know where Mol is, so I've been there plenty of times. Well, a few times at least, not plenty, but I've been there. But but I did not know that fact. No, you never know.
There you go. See, Joris can take that away now for a pub quiz. But yeah, Joris has been to Mol, which is a nice connection as well. So, so Tom Saint-Fiet, who is, of course, Belgian. Now, this is where it gets really interesting because Tom has a reputation for having this crazy CV. Right, Joris? Something 22, 23 clubs, spanning, Europe, Africa, Asia, the Middle East, the Caribbean, and Oceania. And of course, our Ben, who's not with us at the moment and will be back at the end of the month after the winter break, in between moving house and being all over AFCON himself. We'll be rather delighted that we've chosen to talk about Tom, I think, for all sorts of reasons. But yeah, he's got a particular connection in this wildly nomadic footballing career with African football. If we have a quick look at his CV, and I think if we did it in detail, then it would have taken up this whole episode. But yeah, some of his previous haunts have been Namibia, Zambia, Ethiopia, Yemen, Malawi, Togo, Bangladesh, Trinidad and Tobago, Malta, Gambia, Philippines, and of course he's at Mali at the moment. And the reason we're highlighting Tom actually is because Mali have just reached the quarterfinals of AFCON and are due to play Senegal on Friday of this week. So that fixture may have taken place. We may know the outcome by the time you're listening to this, everyone, but they've been doing quite well. They had 3 group draws and then they went on to beat Tunisia in penalties in the round of 16. It's not the first time Saint-Fiet has got a side as well to the quarterfinals at AFCON, and he's got this thing, Joris, about he likes to work with an underdog side. He's a pragmatic coach. He's not wedded to a philosophy in any sense. And of course, if we go right back to the beginning of his career, he starts off in Belgium and he's not really done anything of any note in Belgium as such. He's managed at a provincial level, starts off as a young man at FC Zamel. which is essentially his local side. There's Zamel, and then Mol have their own side as well, very, very close to one another. And then he spent a short period at Dessel Sport as well, with the youth set up there. But nothing of any note really at all on his Belgian CV before going off on his world travels and having, what to be, it must be fair, it's been a pretty successful career, and like I say, a bizarre one, but bizarrely interesting as well. And we know that Belgian football's got a close connection with African football and has done for a long time. And it's interesting that here's a little known Belgian coach deciding that he wants to coach maybe every side in Africa. I don't know.
Who knows? And yes, he's of course a famous figure, and he does podcasts, as you already found out yourself as well. So we should get him on for sure. Moreover, I believe I might be mistaken, but if I recall right, I actually already had him when I was in the student radio, working at a sports program as well, long ago. That we called him, and that he actually went for an interview for that as well. So long ago, that must have been I can't put it. At least 10 years ago, I guess. Always been on the radar, and I'm sure Ben also would love him. So maybe we should wait until Ben is back and surprise him with another guest as well. If he listens to this episode, Ben listens to this episode, of course, the surprise is spoiled. But okay, we'll find out this way if he did.
Yeah, I think if we had Tom on before Ben returned, he would never forgive us, and me and you would get sacked. That's what would probably happen. But yeah, I mean, really interesting as Joris was saying, Tom has been known to appear in a podcast or two, so he may crop up in the Belgian Football Podcast at some point because, if he knows his football, and I think he does because he's quite nomadic by nature. Who knows? If you're listening, Tom, you know where to find us. We may reach out to you at some point soon. But yeah, he's doing fantastically well, and yeah, he likes a shock, I think, and it keeps things really, really interesting. So keep an eye out for Mali on Friday, everybody, against Senegal. Well, I think that's just about it for this week, Joris. It's been really interesting to catch up with you and to have a bit of a deeper dive into what's going on kind of off the pitch a little bit at the moment. We tend to get deep on detail on sort of match detail and around bits of news, but it's a nice time of year to kind of take stock of what's actually going on. And as Joris was saying, we'll keep you up to date, so keep an eye on our socials as well for all the incomings and outgoings, because we'll be all over, certainly the incoming ones in particular.
I found the episode. It's been 8 years only, and unfortunately I was not present myself. I can't claim anything of that, but he was in the show I was working for nonetheless. But I was not in the country and not working for that show at that specific moment. But at least 8 years ago, 25th of October, that must have been 2019.
I think back at that time he was still with Malta. I think he just left Trinidad and Tobago and was with Malta. Because the thing with Tom actually is he doesn't hang around very long at most of his clubs either, and that's not actually a reflection on his impact as such, because he did nearly become the Nigeria technical director. In the not too distant past, but that didn't happen when they had a last minute change of heart. So he's quite well respected in African circles, which is not surprising when you look at his CV. Definitely a coach who likes to take on a challenge, which is nice to see, and it's just great to see a Belgian coach having a really interesting and varied career like that. It'd be fascinating to see what he does next. Hopefully they can go a little bit further as well, because it's nice for us to have a Belgian connection on our mini AFCON section. So we'll see what crops up on the next episode. Have a great weekend, Joris. Up to anything interesting over the next few days?
Not so much, I guess. Follow the news, follow football, the non-Belgian football as well, I guess. Stay up to date with what's going on. But and follow AFCON maybe as well. And of course, now we're reaching the final stages. I have to admit, I haven't watched as much. I think I'm already fired since I said this now. But Okay, good luck to you guys from next week on then.
I have seen a little bit of AFCON so far, and I have promised that I will watch some of the latter stages. So I'm certainly going to try and take in the two semi-finals and the final. That's for sure. Having seen the opening couple of games, Arben, of course, is all over it and has been doing some writing in his own Substack for that as well, and covering some of it on social media. But yeah, he will be back to join us after the tournament finishes, and he moves house. He's been away for a little while. We look forward to welcoming him back and being a full trident once again. Well, as ever, folks, if you like what we're doing here at the BFP, please do consider leaving us a review on your podcast platform of choice. That always helps new listeners find us here. If you really like what you're doing, you can consider leaving us a little coffee at our Buy Me a Coffee, which goes a small way to meeting some of our production costs. But yeah, look after yourself, everybody, and we'll speak to you really, really soon on another episode of the Belgian Football Podcast.